it was a 7-on-7 drill, and I'm watching Detroit, and Detroit's doing, in that second half, kind of whatever they want to do. What is wrong with Buffalo's defense?
Yeah, that's a concern. They're not really generating pass rush pressure with their down 4, and they're not necessarily a big blitz team. They started to blitz a little more in the second half this week against Detroit because they had to. They were not generating any pressure, and they predominantly play zone coverage, and they were missing some players on the back end due to injury. They were missing both safeties in this game, both of their starting safeties, and then they had to go to a safety even beyond that due to injury. So, and they were missing Rasul Douglas, one of their corners. So they're lacking people right now. But it starts with, if you're going to play zone, think of it this way. If you're going to play zone and you're only going to rush 4, you need your 4-man D-line pass rush to be a factor. Right. It's not about sacks, but you need to speed up the quarterback. And they've been unable to do that. And for 2 weeks, their zone coverage has really, really struggled. Now, we know Josh Allen's been phenomenal. But you can't, when you get to the big games in the playoffs, you're not going to put up 45 every week. That's not going to happen.
You have been a huge fan. In fact, back in 2021, you had a column. You said Josh was the most intriguing quarterback you had watched in 45 years of watching film. You said the ball coming out of his hands is otherworldly. I said I thought the most talented quarterback I ever saw in my life was John Elway. And I said a couple of weeks ago, Josh Allen makes Elway look small and lumbering. When it just doesn't. You sent me out of college. You're like, you and Mel Kiper were both like, if this thing works, it's going to be. I mean, I watched him at Wyoming. And he was reckless and wild. Is he more talented than Mahomes? But Mahomes has the trophy. Is he more talented?
In terms of pure physical traits, yes. Don't forget, he's 6'5", 240. That's a trait. It's funny because in that column I wrote in 2021 when I was actually, Peter King had asked me to write his column in the summer, and I did. And it was 2021. So he hadn't really become Josh Allen yet in a strict way. And I said that he was the most physically gifted quarterback in the league and maybe one of the most physically gifted I'd seen, which was different at the time from saying he was the best. But, of course, that's how people took it. But I wasn't saying that. Now, you can always debate whether the guy's the best or not. Those are fun debates. But, you know, you're dealing with a guy that's 6'5", 240 pounds. That is a big, big man. I've been fortunate enough to stand next to him and watch him throw a ball where I was literally standing right next to him, and it just comes out of his hand differently, Colin. I mean, this guy's a little different animal. So, again, we'll see what happens. If their defense doesn't get shored up, well, you know, that could be a big problem. It's tough to put up 40, 45 when you get to the playoffs. You know, things are different. We'll see, but he is really playing at a high level. And I think one of the most important things to me, we know he can make those special plays. We know that. He could always do that. I think he's playing with a far better sense of poise and rhythm from the pocket than he ever has, and that's absolutely critical.
So,
yeah. Josh Allen is the most gifted quarterback of all time, and he is the best quarterback of all time. If the defense doesn't hold their own come playoff time, people get mad at me because I say come time playoffs instead of come playoff time. I don't even know, man. If the defense can't get it together, you know, whether it just be because of injuries and whatnot, I don't believe in curses. I don't believe in any of that. But I don't know how Buffalo Bills fans would stomach that one. Because we know the offense is there. We know Josh Allen is there. Like, we know everything is right there. Hopefully that these injuries, especially now that you're playing the Patriots and the Jets, although the Jets are a little feisty. They're definitely a little feisty. The Patriots and the Jets, there should hopefully be like kind of like no true rush to kind of get everyone back. And so you can kind of have everyone rest up. If the Buffalo Bills can really get lucky and have the Chiefs drop to the 2 seed and they can get that first round bye, again, especially just from an injury perspective, helps them out so much. It feels like they'll play, if they're the 2 seed, they'll have to play the Broncos or the Chargers. And then you potentially fall in this weird situation where you might have to play like the Ravens. Like, it all depends on where the Ravens end up in the seed. But you find yourself in a such a harder, more physical playoff trajectory in terms of who you have to play. Like, it could very much well be like the Chargers, the Ravens, then the Chiefs. And those will be physical games. Those will, especially defensively, going up against the Ravens, even going up against the Chargers to a degree. Not to mention that the Chargers defense will bring a ton of physicality. And so there won't be like, even games that you should definitely win will still be, will still kind of like chip away in a lot of ways. And that was kind of like the benefit, even for the Chiefs, where they had to play their 3 games last season. They got like that freezing cold game against Tua and the Dolphins, which was, I don't know what the heck that was. It wasn't fast, it wasn't physical, it was kind of just like a little bit of, it was kind of just like a nothing, kind of a nothing game. And so considering what the Bills are kind of dealing with, you would like to see if they could kind of get a little bit of a break from relying so heavily on, obviously, the physical talents of Josh Allen, but then also kind of giving that defense kind of a break, which in a lot of ways, I know the Chargers and the Broncos offense isn't necessarily this like super high power, because the offense for the Chargers are missing a lot. You know, they just don't have a lot of pieces, and the Broncos are just definitely young, and they also don't have a ton of pieces. But I would say, still dealing with Justin Herbert, and honestly, Bo Nix and Sean Payton on script will definitely not be some easy feat. I think in the second half, that's where the Bills will definitely be able to shine. But just even dealing with Bo Nix and Sean Payton on script, as we saw them play against the Chargers, have the potential to be a lot harder of an out than you would maybe initially want to give credit for. And so that's why it's just like, if the Bills can just get a little bit of luck, they win these 3 games and have the Chiefs drop, that I think would go a long way. I don't think they need it by no means, but there is definitely a little bit of the PTSD for the Bills of just the injuries. When they did face the Chiefs, they had a ton of injuries, right? And now we see some of the injuries for the Bills. Like, he's like, oh, they're missing both their safeties, and it's like, well, yeah, that, or their corners or whatever it was, I forget now. Like, yeah, like those things matter. Those things really, really do matter, and they add up. And again, I'm not sounding any alarms or being like, oh no, because I've defended their defense, and that's why I always find it funny when they're like, oh, they're giving up in the last 2 games 43 points per game, and I was like, well, it's 2 games. We've had quarterbacks who are not that good throw for like 6 touchdowns in 2 games, and it's like, are we saying that this quarterback now averages 3 touchdowns a game? Like, I don't think so. That's not how this works. So it's just, you know, it's too limited of a sample size. You were talking about going up against 2 high-powered offenses, the Lions and the Rams, and going into the playoffs, because he said, you know, you're not going to really be able to put up these points in the playoffs, and I don't necessarily disagree, but the reality is really the only high-powered offense you're going to face in the AFC in the AFC playoffs should, in theory, be the Baltimore Ravens, and they have a bad defense. So you could put up maybe, 40-some points. But the Chiefs don't have this high-powered offense right now. Neither do the Broncos. Neither do the Chargers. Neither do the Steelers. Again, those teams aren't scrub offenses by no means. But it's not like, electric. We know the Lions' offense is electric. And the Rams' offense is significantly underrated because of all the injuries that they had. But again, Sean McVay, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, like, they are going to be able to do some damage. They just are. But I also think that was one of those games for the Bills that just kind of got a little out of control defensively. You had the punt block, and also it was just one of those games where sometimes it just feels like the points are just kind of piling up. And so I think that game was somewhat slightly misleading, more so than just the Rams being able to just do whatever they wanted. I think there was some moments of that, but I think it was more of just this kind of like momentum. They got the lead, they're able to kind of lean on that and use that to their advantage to kind of keep piling on the points in the way that they did. I don't think it was so much that they were just bullied and it was just clear that they were unstoppable. In fact, if they played another quarter, it felt more like that the Bills were going to hang and they were going to have a 14-point quarter and the Rams would have had like a 3-point quarter. That's the way how I would have felt that game would have unfolded if it continued to play. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the most physically gifted quarterback ever, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills? How do you think their defense will hold up moving forward? Do you think it's a problem? Do you have any concerns? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.